The Indie Writers Club podcast is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid has been my go-to tool for revising and refining my writing since my first book. Built by writers for writers, it's more than just a grammar and spell checker. Pro Writing Aid helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. It can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its new manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Get ahead of the competition by heading to prowritingaid.com, sign up for free or use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.
It's the Indie Writers Club with Cara Clare and James Blatch. A place to relax, chat, learn and vent about life as an independent author. Get episode alerts and links at indiewritersclub.com. Now, here's Cara and James.
Welcome to the Indie Writers Club. I am Cara Clare.
And I'm James Blatch.
Hello, James Blatch. Long time no see.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm having a bad hair day.
I wasn't going to mention it.
Sometimes I forget to brush
Looks
my hair.
fine. It looks fine.
When I come out of the shower and it's stuck. Thank you very much. Yes, we had the Kindle Storyteller Award last night, and I can finally talk about the winner. It was Pip Landers-Lett, and who won with a book called Pig, which is a sort of women's fiction, romance/women's fiction about a young woman going through a bit of a post-breakup crisis, having been in a bit of a coercive relationship, meets a sexy young doctor, and yeah, it's an intriguing tale. It's sapphic, which for those who don't know what that means lesbian. I don't know why, what the subtlety difference is, but there's a reason for it, I'm sure. But that's sort of the point of that book. And I was talking to Claire Lydon, who was there last night, previous nominee, who started writing, who I remember saying, I interviewed her a few years ago on the Self-Publishing Show. And she said she was a bit fed up of lesbian books being kind of lesbian themed. She just wanted a romance book that happened to be two women. So that's, she thought, well, I'll write that. And that's what she writes. And this book is very much in that vein. Anybody would read this book and enjoy it. So congratulations to Pip Landers-Lett and everyone else who was nominated. It was really close and very difficult to come up with a winner, which I know people say probably every year, but it genuinely was. Anyone could have won that. And it was a lovely evening, wasn't it?
It was a lovely evening, and you did a very good job of opening the gold envelope and making the speech. I was very proud.
And a little Davina-like pause.
Yeah, it was very good. I was trying to video you, but there was too many people in front of me, so hopefully somebody got it on video.
Karen Ingalls videoed it and has posted it on Instagram.
Did she?
So
I met Karen for the first time, and we were having a conversation, and it's very weird because this has never happened to me before, where people know me because I'm on the podcast.
Yes.
And they say, "Hi, Cara," and I'm thinking, have we met? Do I know you? I don't know you. This is really rude. So I've just got to the point where I have to eventually go, I'm really sorry. What's your name? And then Karen introduced herself and I was like, oh, because she's somebody that I've been aware of for such a long time. And I've read her books and I know of her, but we'd never actually met. And I'm terrible with faces anyway. I wouldn't have remembered if I'd seen her on Facebook or something. So, yeah.
You're a star now.
Well, I don't know. I feel like only if I'm with you. Because I think I was talking to somebody and then you walked up next to me and then the look on her face, she was suddenly like, you're from the podcast.
We were standing next to each other. But I think also someone did that thing that they've done to me in the past, which is when you start talking, they suddenly turn around and say, oh, I know that voice.
Yeah. It's very strange. Yeah. It's really weird that people are now recognizing my voice, but very lovely, very, very lovely. And we had some good feedback, which was very nice.
And we had a few drinks and we went to Dirty Dick's before, which is a historic old pub.
We did.
On Broad Street in London, and a few nibbles then. It was good to catch up with Darren and Jen and the team at Amazon. They did a good job. And it's a good prize. It's a spotlight on indie writing, self-publishing. It's £20,000, which is a very, very decent first prize to have. So very exciting.
And I think it was really lovely to hear the people from Amazon talking really passionately, actually, about books and about self-publishing. I'd never been to Amazon HQ before either, which was very like secret squirrel entrance and everything, which was quite cool. But yeah, I found it really uplifting and it was a really lovely environment. And it just a reminder of so many people there had been, nominees in the past or were just very successful in the self-publishing sphere. And then when you get all those people in a room together, it kind of reminds you what this industry is really, really good at.
Yeah. But it still remains, I think, quite hidden. There's a lot of talk about trad and trad people, and we had this discussion about Richard Osman and the whole trad industry last week. And Richard Osman, who sounded completely out of touch and got the wrong end of the stick, apparently representing all authors on his podcast on The Rest is Entertainment. And you're upset about it. I was upset about it. I posted on TikTok, dozens of other people, other authors said this is nonsense from Richard Osman. But I guarantee he'll take no notice and he won't correct it, and there won't be any.
No.
Because indies don't count. When it comes to the publishing industry, there's a mindset amongst some people who operate in the industry, particularly I think probably successful celebrity authors who have had no realistic experience of publishing. That indies don't count, and they look down on them.
I mean, even people who aren't that successful, I've kind of just dived into the world of Substack, and I'm encountering so many articles from people who they'll talk very sort of generally about something to do with publishing. And then at some point in the article, they'll mention, well, of course, I'm talking about trad, not indie, as if that's like to be dismissed. And I mean, one of these was talking about how you just have to accept that your book is likely to be a failure. And kind of that's just part of the publishing process, and going on and on and on. And I was thinking, hang on a minute. And anyway, that's a topic for another day, but it definitely surprises me that this is still something that we're battling.
Yeah, it is surprising. It's disappointing, isn't it? I suppose what we need, we've had Andy Weir and a couple of others. What tends to happen, what I was going to say, what we need is a huge, big indie book, but we've actually had quite a few of them now. You know, Lucy's Things We Never Got Over is still self-published. It's a self-published book. The print is distributed by traditional publishing. And I suppose as far as they're concerned, that's all that matters, the print book. But we know, don't we, from our own figures, that most of your money comes from ebooks. So most of the success that Lucy's enjoying is as a self-published author with her ebooks. But she's still probably not seen as a self-published author by the industry. They'll see her as a traditionally published author because of her books, print.
Yes, yeah. And then I think people still think that that's what we're kind of aspiring to. It's like, oh, we'll see, the goal was still to get a trad deal. And it's like, well, she didn't have to. She still would have been doing absolutely phenomenally well without that.
That is literally only her print books. And I completely think that's the right thing to do. If either of us had a massive breakout hit with an ebook, I would sell the print rights. If you want to walk past the newsstand, they can reach places you can't reach as an indie. But for ebooks, there's nowhere we can't reach with ebooks, and that will still be the mainstay of our income. And we've pointed out before, J.K. Rowling doesn't say this out loud, but I'm sure a huge chunk of her wealth comes from the Harry Potter ebooks. It's a massive part of the income for a lot of authors. Trad don't really like ebooks, which is why they price them at $18.99 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, okay, look, we're going to have a guest today, which is quite exciting.
I'm excited.
We're going to have a guest, Cissy Mecca, Cecilia Mecca. I'll let her introduce herself fully. She's got a few names. In a few minutes is going to join us. Now, Cissy's one of my good mates in publishing. One of the reasons I wanted to get her on is we were in Italy together recently, darling, because, you know, we're an international trendsetter.
That's just the way that you live, James, isn't it?
That's the way I live. I couldn't help looking over her shoulder, noticing that she was using an AI assistant to organize her day-to-day, and it was breathtakingly good. I mean, unbelievably good. So I want to really pick her brains about it, and I thought, where better than to do it on the podcast itself? So we're going to get Cecilia to join us. And look, as if by magic.
Here she is.
There she is.
Huh?
Are you just doing your hair?
Fixing my hair. Yeah.
I was doing when we started.
James just fixed his.
Hi, guys.
You should probably know there's no preamble. We're into it now. This is it.
Yeah, we're not live or anything. It's fine.
I mean, I can cut stuff out, but I probably won't.
All right,
You're allowed
let's go.
to swear.
I'm
Cissy
ready.
Mecca, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I just jumped right in, I guess, right?
Yeah, you could absolutely jump right in. How exciting to have a guest. We don't have guests very often, but here you are. And I did do a little introduction to you that you didn't hear, but you should probably introduce yourself and your many names.
Sure. Yes, I have so many. I feel so esteemed right now to be one of your very few guests, and very honored this morning from here in Pennsylvania. Yeah, one of my main name is Cecilia Mecca. That's actually not my main name. Cissy Mecca is my main name because that's what I go by most of my friends. That's a steamy small town name. Cecilia Mecca was my first indie pub name, and that is a medieval romance. And then I most recently added CL Mecca, which is paranormal and romantasy. 3 pen names under the Mecca Romance brand. And that's it. I'm staying at 3.
Yeah, you're not going to do it.
You heard it here first. She's staying at 3.
Yeah, I know you have. We met when I only had one name, James.
Yes, yeah. And you're both traditionally published and indie, so I guess we call hybrid. The word hybrid, by the way, gets so many possible variations. I saw someone the other day talking about why it's actually Jane Friedman in her brilliant email she sends out every week or 2 weeks, saying that hybrid publishers in her world were vanity publishers, but publishers you paid for self-publishing services to publish your book. But I would say a hybrid publisher is someone who's both sort of indie and trad. So
I think it is now, but that's how they used to sell themselves. They used to say it's not a vanity publisher, we're a hybrid publisher, which means you pay us and then we publish for you. So vanity presses kind of developed this phrase, hybrid publishing, to kind of sneak under the radar when people started catching on to them. But I think that's dropped off now. And most people know that hybrid means a mix of trad and indie.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, never pay a publisher to publish your books.
No.
We always say that. So you are trad published with Boldwood and
yes,
self-published as well.
Yes.
So we've been talking a little bit last week, before we get into the subject we brought you on for, we've been talking a little bit about the whole kind of trad versus indie and where we are with that, because we had a fairly prominent author in the UK called Richard Osman. Do you know who he is?
I've heard the name.
So he's a big cozy mystery author. There's a film actually, isn't there, of his first book, I think.
There was I think it was on Netflix and it did terribly and everybody hated it. Was it the Thursday Murder Club or something Murder Club? Yeah.
It was stuffed with stars, but that never actually means it's going to be good. Anyway, he was talking on another podcast about entertainment, and he's very knowledgeable on areas of entertainment. But whenever he is asked questions about being an author, his position is, as a celebrity who's taken on by traditional publishing and has become huge, that's his experience. And his advice to people on that podcast was, he's heard it said that you need a social media presence and you need an audience and author. That's absolute nonsense. You don't. What you need to do is you need to get out of your house, go and meet people at events, and that's how you're going to sell your books. And everybody on TikTok has been saying, yeah, I don't think so. That's the opposite. But where
not 100%.
Do you think indie publishing in America has broken through? Do people know about it? Do people give it credibility and kudos, or do they still just think indies are people who can't get traditional contracts?
Yeah, so it depends, I think, who you're talking to, if it's an author or a reader, because in the reader community, I really do think it's a minority of people. And I know, James, we had a discussion on our WhatsApp group about this yesterday, that actually look at who's publishing a book. I mean, I'm an author and I don't even look. I don't know who's publishing a book. Sometimes you can tell if it's an indie that's not doing things really well, and maybe I'll pass by that particular title. But when I'm looking on Kindle, I don't look, and I don't think most of my readers do. Whenever I bring up topics that are really important to authors like this with my readers, they're just like, what are you even talking about? I really don't think that they care. In terms of the author community, sure, there's still a stigma, but it's obviously less and less as the years go on. And as in romance, obviously I'll speak specifically for romance, there's some really powerhouse indie romance authors that I would argue do things maybe even better than some of the, big traditional authors or publishers. So I think that stigma is less and less as it goes on. I'm a very proud indie author. My trad experience has been great as a learning experience, but I can't imagine not being an indie author. Maybe I'll eat my words at some point when, I'm offered this mega deal with the movie that goes along with it, and they say, you have to sign over everything. I don't know, but I absolutely love being an indie author personally.
Yeah. It's just annoying. I think it's probably just annoying because the trad industry, if it was just the trad industry, the other half of the industry who we meet in events occasionally or read about in the odd newspaper interview, if it was just them looking down on us or not really acknowledging indie, despite the fact they're adopting all the innovations that we've created over the last 12 years or so. The trouble is, it's the whole of the rest of the media have that view, because trad seems to permeate the news, magazines, newspapers, other podcasts. They get all their lines from traditional publishing, and indies finding it harder things. That's the only thing that annoys me. But you're right to point out that
is true.
Don't care.
I think what annoys me is that because trad has that influence on the media, it's then the authors who buy into that. Like you were saying, Cecilia, that the authors who have that kind of snobbery. And I think we kind of experienced it when we did that talk recently in Cambridge. And it wasn't necessarily a snobbery. They're just believing what they've been told. So therefore, they believe they can't be successful. They believe that their work isn't going to be taken seriously unless they go the trad route. And that's what frustrates me, because these people are sitting around for 4 or 5 years thinking they're not any good, and then perpetuating it, because then they write articles to make themselves feel better about how everybody who's actually self-published is rubbish. And it's like, actually, if you really looked into it, if you really understood it, you could be getting your work out there and be proud of it.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think back to my own journey, I assumed I wanted to be traditionally published, because that's the path that I knew. And when I met an indie author that was writing Scottish medieval romance, my first thought said, "Oh, indie, do you mean self-publishing?" I was like, that's not really what I want. So I was snob about it, and really unintentionally. And then she told me what she made, and I switched gears and became indie about 10 minutes later.
That's usually the thing that does it, isn't it? The people are like, really indie?
Huh.
And then I love the question I get when I'm at parties, and they go, "So do you make any money from that then?" And I'm never really quite sure how to answer. So I usually just go, "Well, I'm doing okay."
Yeah, I actually do.
You get another writer who says, "Well, I don't. It's not really about the money for me." At which point, I immediately say, "That's absolutely fine, brilliant. If not making money and being unsuccessful is your thing, you're killing it. You carry on doing that."
That's why I don't hang out with James at parties, because he offends everyone.
Hey, we were at a literary party last night in London together.
We were.
Oh, how was that?
It was good. It was the Kindle Storyteller Award. We've just talked about that, but it was very fun. And,
good. It was.
I even made a little speech.
I'm jealous. I want to be in London hobnobbing with the literary types such as both of you.
Yeah, come over for next year's. We'll get you an invite. Okay, look, Cissy, so I set this up saying that I was looking over your shoulder in Italy and other places, and I know that you are using AI to organize your approach to your publishing business. And I've been incredibly impressed with how you've tamed Pedro, I think you call your AI.
Pedro.
Is it Pedro?
Pedro is everybody's boyfriend. So
I assume that's
I have to share
homage to Pedro Pascal, right?
It is. And I guess we won't go into James's tie to Pedro Pascal now on the podcast.
No, I don't think that's appropriate. That's the X-rated version of the podcast.
Yes. Anyway.
So moving on.
Perhaps just explain how you're using ChatGPT.
Yeah. And so I would like to preface this, because I was thinking about this a little bit. I thought of all the odd things for me to be on here about, I am not, because I listen to AI experts, and typically at the gym is when I'm listening to podcasts about AI. And I realize as I do how little I know. So I am very far from, an expert. I learned about AI only, I think, was it 2 years ago from Kevin McLaughlin, who was at one of our New Orleans retreats that we had. Or maybe it was 3 years ago, I forget, but he started talking about some of the things that it was doing and what was happening. And everybody in the room was like, what's AI? Like, what are you talking about? So I'm fairly new to this. So I am by no means an expert in AI or even approaching it. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the least techie people you'll meet. I do like to learn though. And I do like to be on the kind of cutting edge of what's happening in this space. As you know, I came from the blogging world and just really have a lot of ties still to, I listened to social media marketing world, which was my absolute favorite conference years ago. So I kind of still, I guess, am in those circles of what's happening with social media and things like that. And as they started talking about it more, as I learned more from Kevin, how it could kind of apply to us, I'd say, was it maybe a year ago, I decided this has to be kind of a learning chunk for me. So, as a former educator, it's really important for me to continually develop myself in areas. Obviously, craft is one, but then I usually pick another for the year or whatnot. And so right now it's obviously been AI. And what I've learned is that I was using AI much like a lot of people were, which going on to ChatGPT, I'm at a restaurant, like, which wine do I pick? And just very casual. Even for my business, I was kind of treating it as a one-off, let me ask it a question and get an answer. As I learned more about what it could do, I kind of start to build in these processes that now are so integral. I can't even imagine operating without them. So I just wanted to preface it with that because I am not an expert, just a casual user of AI who likes to learn and is trying to figure out how it can help me level up because I just kind of realized, yeah,
it's a good point because I think most people are just using ChatGPT and Claude for one, as a glorified search engine. Effectively.
Yes.
So I think it's where we all are, but you have taken onto that. I mean, I'm not going to put you up as the leading expert in the world about this. I'm putting you up as an author, who's using it in a killer fashion. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. So Pedro, I named him Pedro because he's everybody's boyfriend. And, that was the day I was in a car with a fellow author friend, Tina Gallagher, and hers is Colin, I think. And so we are plotting a series together and we had a question about naming a town, which we named this town and I love it. But anyway, we're writing the Steamy Small Town series. And she said, so let me ask Colin. So she went to talk with him and I didn't have a name for mine at the time. And I was like, that's my ChatGPT. We both have a British accent for ours. I was like, that's mine. And she said, oh, it's like Pedro Pascal. He's everybody's boyfriend. I said, okay, there's Pedro. And Pedro is now my author assistant. And I do kind of utilize it to organize my entire day. And I can't imagine operating without it. So I don't know where you want me to go from here. I can tell you how I got started with that.
How'd you start?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when you say that you've called it Pedro, do you mean the bit where you can talk to ChatGPT, you can give it a name? So on the app, there's an option where you can actually speak to it. So is that what we're talking about when you...
Yeah, so I utilize it both, on my phone and on my desktop. And so when I'm talking, yes, it's Pedro. Or mostly when I'm referring to it to other people with friends. Like my husband, who is now jealous of Pedro, I think. So that's a whole different topic, different podcast.
When you're with Cissy, she'll often start talking. You'll turn around to answer and realize she's talking to Pedro.
So that maybe is a slight problem, but that's, like I said, a whole different podcast topic. How I got started.
Yes.
So
where did you get started? You have to train it to be your assistant, right?
You do. And that's kind of the most important thing. If you use it as a one-off and you just ask it questions and it doesn't have context, you're going to reinvent the wheel every time you talk to it or every time you type it out, however you're using it. And so I quickly realized that I had to kind of cough up the subscription so that it could have the memory. And that's kind of step one, really. So pick whichever. Most AI people will say have at least two so they can bounce off of each other. But I don't want to cheat on Pedro. So I just have ChatGPT. But pick one, spend the money, get the subscription, because then you have the history that goes along with it. So you don't have to retrain it every time, because the free version, I'm talking specifically about ChatGPT, only has kind of a limited memory. So you can say, and I was doing this before I upgraded, you can say, store this in your memory. So if you have an important brand, if you have a discussion about your brand and you want it to remember it, you can say that, but then it will quickly kind of fill up as you use it every day. So first step is to get this subscription model for whatever, AI that you're using. And then what I learned is that I had to give it context for workflows as opposed to, like I said, one-off discussions. And just kind of in listening to AI experts, what I ended up doing was asking Pedro to interview me. And it isn't for the faint of heart. I mean, one of the things I've learned is the more I train it, just like a human, the more I talk with it as kind of a partner assistant and not just a computer module, the better it gets. And so I had to put in the time to train it, just like you would an actual assistant. And so I would say, well, it's ongoing, so that I still have conversations where I'm training it. But that initial training was, I think it took 2 days to fully do this whole thing. And I said, here's my brand. This is what I'm doing. At this point, I am training you to become an author assistant, and I'd like you to interview me and ask questions so that by the time we're done with this comprehensive interview, you know all there is to know about my brand in order to be the most effective author assistant that you can, or something to that effect. And so it started asking, well, first of all, it'll fire 10 questions at once. And you're like, hold down, Pedro, one at a time. And and I remember getting off, I was landing, I forget where I was, and I was answering questions. I landed and I was by myself. I had a 2-hour drive home. I answered questions for 2 hours straight. And then the next day I picked up more, and it was probably a 3 or 4 hour interview because I kept saying, dig deeper, dig deeper, dig deeper. And by the time I had finished a few hours of that interview, that was like the the groundwork, I guess you could say, because as I learned, it needs context. Without context, you're never going to have the continuity you need for the assistant to kind of take shape. That was step
And
one.
so did you do this by voice? Were you talking to it by voice? And do you think that helps you to give a more kind of realistic answer than if we're forcing ourselves to type it out? If you're talking, you're going to be more conversational. So hopefully kind of
Absolutely.
actually be more real.
I think so. And for me, it was more practical. If I'm sitting at my computer typing, I'm wanting to write a book. So I feel like that downtime where I'm driving or things like that, it's a good time to do it because I feel like James knows I like to be productive a lot. And so I don't love downtime. It's a problem actually of mine. And so, you doing it in the car was just, I think it did help, but for me, it was more of a practical thing.
Well, I've got a few follow-up questions. So first of all, you said the dig deeper. So basically he's asking you questions. I'm going to say he now.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Asking you questions, you give an answer. And then at what point do you sort of listen to his response? At what point do you say, I want you to dig deeper on this?
Whenever I thought Pedro wasn't understanding kind of what I'm saying, or if there was a disconnect, or if I knew I had more information in my brain about that topic. So for instance, I said, listen, here's a little bit about my brand. Mecca Romance is an umbrella for 3 pen names. Every single thing I'm saying to give it context, I don't want to have to say again. So these are my brands. This is what I write. And if it asked a question of me and I'm like, wait, but I have more on that topic before we move on, I would say, you know what, I need to tell you more about, the steamy small town. For instance, you need to know that my Blood White is also a steamy small town. So those 2 pen names cross over. And so it was just like it was a brain dump really about my entire brand. I went backwards and started with, in 2017, I first published. It was like telling my entire story as an indie author to someone, which if you think about, you have an author assistant sitting next to you, you're going to want them to have the most context that they possibly could about where you came from, where you are now, what your goals and dreams. I mean, one of my biggest fears is that this gets released somewhere because I was so vulnerable with it. And I said, these are the mistakes I've made. This is where I want to be. This is the disconnect. If that gets released, I mean, whatever at this point. But
what you don't want is it coming up and when someone's searching for your books, all that coming up saying, this is what you should know about. So
she thinks she's a fraud. Don't read her books. Yeah.
Well, we
This
all
is
like talking
fascinating.
about ourselves. So I think this sounds like a great conversation to have.
You would love to have this conversation, right? Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think this is fascinating because my sister is an author assistant, and one of the problems so she works, I don't think she'll mind me saying, with Sacha Black, and she knows Sacha's books inside out, is absolutely passionate. They have a really close working relationship. But a lot of author assistants that you find, there's that disparity between actually the amount you'd need to pay them to be so passionate about your books and to know that much about your back catalogue. It's not possible for most authors, and then for the assistants as well, it's not a feasible way to make a living because you have to put in too much time. There's no way that a human who's not you usually will become as invested in your business and know it as well as you do. So what you're saying is actually you're creating something that does know everything that you know because you've told it everything from the beginning of when you started to write. And that's like a game changer.
Yeah. For me, I think the biggest tip I could probably offer is treat it like a human assistant and not just a one-off question answer. I'm not feeding it prompt. I'm collaborating with it as if it's an actual assistant.
Who never goes on break.
Who never goes on break, who thinks I'm amazing, which is actually a problem. And that's a known problem with ChatGPT. So I've had to say, no, you need to give me, I need the hard questions. I need pushback. I've had to tell it that because there are times, I'm thinking about doing this idea. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm like, wait, does it really though? Because I think my biggest deficit and where ChatGPT has really helped me is making data-informed decisions because I don't like looking at data. I'd rather be creative. I don't like looking at the numbers and things like that. So uploading my KDP reports, uploading my newsletter stats, like all of the data and the numbers. Obviously, that's important to want it. When I talk about context, yes, I had a discussion with it, but I've also uploaded everything. All 45 books have been uploaded. My entire lifetime history of KDP has been uploaded. All of my flow desk has been uploaded. So it has the data too. So I can say, but wait, look at my KDP report. Is this a good idea for XYZ? And then also not just taking advice from a computer, looking at it myself, but also having someone to kind of bounce off of.
But you're right, because it is programmed a lot of the time to just say, that's wonderful. My God, Cara, you are incredible. Yeah. And I actually hate it when it does that, because I'm like, no, I don't want you to just agree with me. But you do have to specifically say, I don't want you to just agree with me. I want you to give me an answer based on, like you said, on data or on something else. Don't just flatter me, please.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good, but
I know.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of encouragement. You shouldn't tell him. I think I switched to Claude quite early on because you were limited in how much you could upload in terms of manuscripts to ChatGPT. Has that changed? Can you upload your whole book?
With the paid, you can upload as much as you want. So that's another reason to have the paid. And as a matter of fact, you can also, you can connect it to your Google. And I didn't realize that until I had almost everything uploaded. So at this point now, so when I leave here, the first thing I'll do every day is ask it for my daily agenda. It will tap into the manuscript that I'm writing right through Google Drive and know where I'm at. So I don't have to say, okay, what's my word count or anything like that. And one of the things I think I was telling you about, James, which is on the chat, I don't like to work by word count exactly because it stresses me out. I don't want to know that I'm behind on word count. So I've told it that that's how I feel about these things, but also I need to stay on track. So what it does is tracks the word count on the back end, so I don't see it, but will give me like gentle encouragement to say, maybe you should write 2 chapters today. And then I know that's its way of being like, you're off word count. That's the way I like to work. I'd rather work by chapters. I'd rather be a little gentle. This weekend, you should probably sneak in a chapter or 2. I've trained it to do that instead of you're supposed to get to this deadline, this many words. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And have you told Pedro about any other aspects of your life so that it's not just your marketing? So I think about my life. I've got different businesses. I work for different people, different days of the week and stuff. And I'm wondering whether I should train my AI, who I'm going to call Carrie, I guess, after Carrie Fisher.
Of course you are.
Leia.
Sure.
Probably Leia. Yeah. I think Leia's the obvious one. Do you do that? Do you does Pedro know that you like to go to the gym every day, or you have other commitments? You've got to pick up the kids or whatever?
Yeah. And it's funny that you asked that, because one of the things that I asked Pedro at one point, I said, listen, I need different types of days, because I realized, so one of the things after I trained it, I do ask for a daily agenda. I say, okay, you're in assistant mode. And by the way, you don't have to do that, but I like doing that because it's more context. You're in my author assistant mode and I need the daily agenda, but I have an appointment at 2:00. I don't have a full day. So what we kind of worked out is, I have a half day today or a full day, or a workhorse day is a day where it's like, I don't care if I'm working 12 hours, based on what I'm doing. One thing I did learn is the more you tell it about other things, it actually naturally will do that. I didn't do it consciously. It was more like, hey, I'm back at the gym this week, but I need a new workout, and it will give me workouts, and it's done that. Now it knows I'm working out at the gym. So when I ask for my agenda, it gives me a manifestation at the top every day, a daily manifestation. I realized at one point, it knows that I'm at the gym and that I'm working out and that I'm wanting to lift weights and that, I want to get rid of my arm flap. Like, it knows that. And now it's a part of my daily goals and all that. So I do think it's helpful, but I did it by accident just because I was doing other things with it. Yeah.
Pedro's amazing.
Pedro's awesome.
So are you at the point now where, because you have put a lot of work in initially to get him going, are you at the point now where it is a positive benefit every day, or are you still having to feed in information and sort of work? Because generally they are. We know the more you put in, the more you get out.
Yeah, I could probably put nothing in right now. And if nothing changed in my author career, I would be fine. I don't really have to train it anymore. However, things change all of the time. And so therefore you kind of naturally do. For instance, I didn't even tell you guys that, James, this, but I stopped my work in progress on Sunday and decided to take 10 days off to write a novella that's going to be completely crazy, genre bending. It's going to be basically combining all 3 of my genres. It's nuts, actually. And I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm doing it anyway. So, because I have the time.
What does Pedro think about that?
Pedro loves it. Pedro thinks it's amazing.
What an inspired idea. This is the best idea you've ever had.
You have never had a better idea. Pedro thinks it's great. Now, Pedro thinks I'm unhinged, I think, as does my cover designer this morning. I was like, I have this idea for a cover. She said, what genre? I'm like, well, here's the thing about that. We have a bit of
all the genres.
Romantic,
Yes.
medieval, contemporary.
Yes.
Right.
I totally am. Yeah, no, don't talk me out of it. I started it.
This is the
It sounds genius to me. I'm on board.
The most Cissy thing I've spent the last 8 years trying to persuade Cissy not to open up another genre, but to stay in one lane. But
it is a little crazy. But yeah, so Pedro had to know about that project. And so, yes, I have to kind of train it then. But I would say in about week 2, I almost gave up because there was a morning where I asked, give me my daily agenda. And it was still, you know how what's the word that they use where it gets drunk?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It
hallucinates. Yeah.
Yes. And actually that was an old, they've released a new update since then and it hallucinates a little bit less, but it hallucinated. And I was like, I've put in hours and hours and hours and it's still going to give me this weird, it mixed up genres and stuff like that. It doesn't really do that all that much. But then I just realized, okay, if this was a human, I would have to just be like, no, Kitschy Falls is not Cissy Mecca. Like, let's, get it straight. And yeah, so I really don't have to train it anymore. For me, it's the most worthwhile thing I've done in the last few years because now I can say, as I will in a few minutes, give me today's agenda. It's a full day and it will give me my agenda and split it up creative, business. I think you saw one, James. It splits it up into like 4 major areas. And then and I like to work like that where I'm ticking off all of the to-dos, but it pulls in things from, it's a Wednesday. You need to look at your flow desk data because I send a newsletter on Tuesday. So let's look at the open rates. If it's at the first of the month, it knows that we're going to be looking at the KDP reports because I built all that in. And I'll say, let's do that every Wednesday. So it knows that I'm trying to up my affiliate marketing a little bit because my affiliate marketing, it turns out, as Pedro kind of looks at everything, I do fairly well in terms of sending people to my website. And in terms of signups, we were looking at that for newsletter signups. It's one of my stronger newsletter sign up areas, but I was taking every book and sending it right to Amazon. So it was Pedro's idea you should have a landing page for every book. So if you have the cover on your meccaromance.com and you click on that, that should not go to Amazon. That should go to your page so you can build in affiliates. And so I am one by one doing all of that and then building in the affiliates. But anyway, it knows, okay, every 2 weeks, if, we're going to look at the affiliate stuff and make sure that that's worthwhile to keep building up affiliate marketing. All of that is built in. And that is just so powerful because I don't have to think about it. I don't use my planner anymore to do checklists and things like that. I just say, Pedro, give me the agenda and all of it is built in. The weekly tasks, the monthly tasks, the daily things, my word count, every pen name, all the things I'm working on. It knows I'm working on a holiday thing and it just won't let things drop off. So it's amazing.
And I guess what you've got there as well, like one of the things that we always talk about is most of us function alone. And if you're sick or if something happens to you, what do? If you weren't able to work, you've actually got this whole thing here that knows your entire business inside out, where you could say, I need someone else to take over from me for a while, give them all the information. So even though it is taking time, it's actually something that most of us should be doing anyway, having some kind of business Bible of how we run things, but we never do because there's just not the time to do it.
Yeah, it does take time, but I think it's absolutely worthwhile. I can't imagine operating without it at this point. I'm like, how did I keep track of all the things and all the pen names? And that's probably what I was doing, was just kind of managing them. Now I'm able to manage them on a new level where, it knows I have goals and the goals are to level up. And to do that, especially with 3 pen names, I think if I had 1 pen name, I would have been able to, obviously focus a little bit more. And now Pedro is able to make sure nothing drops off with any of the pen names. So
it's like that amazing phrase, isn't it? It's giving you time to work on your business rather than in your business. So instead of being totally dragged into it and you can't do anything else, you've actually been able to remove yourself a little bit and now work on it rather than holding all that in your head all the time.
Yes, I love having gotten out of my head. And now if I have a half hour that I can be, and this is just how I work too. I like to fill all the spaces. If I have a half hour to be productive, if I didn't know where to go, I would probably have gone to Canva and started tinkering around, or my website is always my default. I love working on my website, but that's probably not what I should be doing. And now I have that checklist that says, no, you should actually be doing the thing you don't want to do, which is looking at your German translation ad. I don't like to do that, but Pedro makes me, so I have to.
Yeah.
Bit of a taskmaster too.
I think about my notepad, which is I sort of fill up with my daily tasks. and I have a whiteboard over there, which is the kind of medium to long-term tasks, which, by the way, I never get to. I just put them on the board and they sit there. So it is, but I do also have occasionally I sit there and think, I actually don't know what to do next. And so I think I'm in the market for this. I'm so impressed with the way you've done this, Cissy, and adopted it.
Thank you.
And seeing those agendas you sort of post during the day, just examples of what your day's going to look like. You had a mega day the other day. I could see you got back off from Italy, probably in your own mind felt you'd been slacking, whilst actually you're having a well-earned break.
I know.
And you had a big couple of days back, didn't you? And Pedro.
How did you know that? How did you know that?
I know you too well. But do you think, I mean, how far is this going to go? As other people perhaps listen to this, me and Cara might start, I'm definitely going to have a go at this. Other people listen to it will. Do you think in a couple of years' time, like for instance, we deal with other things in our lives? And I mentioned a little bit, does Pedro take a holistic approach to your life? But if you're having, let's say you've got a child who's going through some whatever things as parents you deal with, is ChatGPT or an AI going to become part of your assistant in navigating that? I mean, that seems like a really powerful thing.
As we were talking, I was like, oh my God, I could give ChatGPT the thing they give me at the beginning of term that has all the dates on it for all the baking sales that I need to do and the non-uniform days that I'm going to need £1 for that I always forget, and all the things which I always forget about. And then on the day of, I'm trying to scramble around. I could just give it that at the beginning of term and ask it to remind me. And then for the rest of the term, I actually don't have to worry about it because it's going to tell me a few days beforehand. By the way, you need to buy cakes. I mean, pretend you make some cakes for Wednesday. So I'm going to do that literally as soon as we get off this call.
Yeah, I think it's already happening. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and they were talking about building AI assistants. And I think that that's already happening for some people, that really know how to use this and have assistants for different things. She was talking about an example. She's an AI coach, this person I was listening to. And she said, the podcast host said, what industry do you think that this will be useful for? And she said, I can't think of one that it wouldn't be useful for. So he was kind of challenged to give her that example. He said, okay, I'm sitting here as my plumber is working underneath my sink. And she said, okay, great example. I actually worked with a plumber who uploaded every manual, uploaded every single, job that he's ever had. And then boop, can pop it in and say, what do I do here? Or she said, there isn't one industry that can be that this might not be useful for. And I agree with that. Prostitute. Of course.
I mean, James, we can get into kinks.
Of course you would come up with one.
Like, if you're a sex worker, you have to hold all the likes and dislikes of all your clients in your head, and you have to remember it all.
And I have a huge list of likes and dislikes. That they have to
Thank you.
Exactly. You need a Bible all on your own.
Oh, that is so on brand for you.
I knew that this chat would descend at some point. I knew.
As long as they dress up like Princess Leia, it's not an issue.
I was about to make a really, really important point, and now I'm just very distracted.
It's probably going to take Carrie about 3 seconds to realize that you have this unhealthy obsession. Yeah. Maybe, hopefully it could talk to you about that a little bit.
Thing is, on Grok, you can get Grok to produce some very interesting images of Princess Leia.
Let's not get into the ethics of Grok.
No.
My important thing that I was about to say was, I mean, most of our point and my point when we've been discussing AI in the past is this is exactly what I want it to do, because then it frees up my brain to be creative. Mm-hmm. If I'm not having to store all of this information in my head and remember 1 million things at a time in order to run my business, which I still love doing, but it's going to reduce that time. So then I have more time to be creative. And I've said that in terms of household stuff as well. It's like, where's the robot that's going to do my laundry and my dishwasher and sort out like my daily admin tasks, like remind me to renew my car insurance, remind me that my car tax is due, all of that stuff, so that I can actually live my life and enjoy it more. Yeah. So I think it's super exciting.
Yeah. And just to do the things that we don't like to do. I think about how much time. Mm-hmm. So yesterday I was doing German ads, which I don't like ads. I don't like looking at data, as I've established. I just went ahead and uploaded. I'm testing a new cover for one of my German translations. And so we're testing that. And I just don't like doing that. So I just uploaded the data and I said, here, take a look. And what do we need to do? And it made suggestions. It was like, kill this. We killed one ad. We tweaked another ad. We started a third. Making those decisions, walking me through step by step, it saved so much. I didn't have to look at the data and make determinations and figure it out. It did it for me. So I love it. Yeah. It just makes things easier.
Before we let you go, I also just want to ask you to tell us about how you've combined your different pen names into a single kind of club for your readers, which is working out really well for you.
Yeah. So, and I did that all by myself before Pedro. So I know.
Using your own brain.
I used my actual brain. Crazy. So when I finally decided this is going to be me, I for a while was figuring out like, will I end up Cecilia Mecca? Will I be Cissy Mecca? What do I like writing? When I kind of leaned into the fact of I like all of it, and there are days that I want to write romantasy and fall into a medieval immortal world. There are other days that I go on a girls' trip, and shocking, I know, I go on a girls' trip and am inspired by the wine tasting and want to write a small town romance. When I decided to lean into that, it was an actual conscious decision. I said, you know what, they're not going anywhere. This is who I am, for better or worse. It's probably holding me back income-wise and building wise to do all three, but this is the this is the life I'm wanting to live. I remember being at an Inc., conference one time, and they said, not everybody needs the same thing. You're designing the life you want to live. The one I want to live looks like writing different things in different days, even if maybe it's not getting me to where I need to be as quickly as I could. And so when I decided to lean into that, I thought, all right, if I'm going to have all three brands, let's do this like cohesively and smartly. And I went ahead and combined everything into one newsletter. Everything is Mecca Romance. I changed all of my handles, TikTok, Instagram, everything is Mecca Romance. That's the one thing that all three brands have in common is they're all romance brands. They all have the same tone and voice. I'm lucky that they're all, the same steam level and things like that. Otherwise, that would complicate it a bit, and I'd probably need to separate. And so one of everything except Amazon, which now they're still able to be separate on Amazon. So the also bought Stay Clean and things like that. And then I just kind of leaned into that branding. So what does Mecca Romance stand for? Mecca Romance is emotionally charged, flirt-filled vibes. It's the same whether it's a medieval village or a small town, or a small town. And yeah, so the one group, I combined all of my groups into one Mecca Romance, from castles to coffee shops, your escape awaits. And so everything is about escapism. I turned all of my branding for live events into escapism. So now Mecca Romance looks like an airport. And what's those things where you're boarding? I forgot what that's called.
Like
a boarding board. Yeah, departures board. And that's what it looks like. And it says Cecilia, medieval England. Cissy is, the Finger Lakes. And it's all about escaping into a romance. And it just made life so much easier. In terms of one newsletter, I was already doing a weekly newsletter, but I was switching every other week with Cecilia or Cissy. So now it's just one. I was very clear in formatting it so that if you open my newsletter, you could scroll very quickly just to Cissy. I stole that from I borrowed it. Oh God, I'm going to get myself sued. So I'm a Disney Vacation Club member, and I get their newsletters that are formatted so beautifully. So I took inspiration from their newsletters and separated it very nicely.
Because Disney aren't remotely legal.
I know. As soon as I said it, I'm like, I stole that from...
We can bleep that out. It's fine.
No, I took inspiration from... so that way you can kind of quickly scroll and that kind of thing. So I feel like I'm getting there. This Mecca Romance has only been about a year in the making, and it's like creeping to where it needs to be. One of these days, I'm going to figure out who I am and what I want to do.
Well, I think you're doing it. And that's what's brilliant about that is you started from what I want to do, how I want to be, and without compromising that. And then you worked out that actually it's not just romance, the very top level that joins all these different genres together. It's the value system, like the spice level, the flirtiness, the voice is the same across the three. So there's strong values. If this was a corporate world, that would be a winning presentation. Someone would say, yeah, you've linked our brands through values so that we can have an umbrella across the top. We don't have to worry about people being siloed.
Yeah, and romance readers do read across, subgenres. They're not just into mafia, but they want to know what they're reading. I think that's the thing of still having the separate names is that you, like you said, on Amazon, it's clearly signposted. But I think romance readers do read across all those different things.
They do. And I just had to stop listening to pretty much everybody tell me, like, you need to pick a
James,
genre.
you mean you had to stop listening to James?
Stop listening to me a long time ago.
No, I said, this is who I want to be, Joanna Lindsay. So this is who I want to be. And this is what, I'm going to do. And it's funny because once you free yourself up to like be who, this sounds so corny, but to be who you think you should be, everything kind of opened. I was like, if I don't have to fight it, I'm going to embrace it. So now I have Crossover Club. I have a sticker. I have a club just for Mecca romance readers who go across genres. And you can only get the sticker if you're in the club. So I like really leaned into that whole idea of what do I have to offer that's different from some others? You can come into my world, find a book, and then change your mood and decide, I want to read a romantasy, and then also get that same vibe. Because a lot of readers, like, they will stick with an author because they know them. I reread books. When I can't find a new book, I'll go back to one I know that's well written. And I tell readers, you don't have to do that now because you could cross over, but no, it's still me and my writing and my voice and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've really leaned into it.
And that's the thing about being indie is that we can make that decision. You made that decision and you're like, no, I'm going to do it. And this is how I'm going to do it.
Screw it. Screw everybody.
Tell people where they can find you.
Mecca Romance everywhere. It's so easy now. I love that. If you asked me that a year ago, I'd be like, well,
yeah,
it depends. Mecca Romance everywhere. Yeah, is pretty much where you could find me.
Excellent. Hey,
good
great.
to see you.
I think you're only our third person beyond.
Second person, I think.
Sasha and Tom.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Yeah, me and Sasha did one. I missed Tom, so I'm happy to be here for this.
I miss Sasha. Isn't that weird?
It is.
But you're the first proper guest with both of us here.
Oh my gosh. I honestly could not be more honored. Listen to the podcast, love both of you, and I did get to finally meet Kara last year at the retreat. I'm honored, honestly.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
That retreat again.
And now we both have a really big to-do list that we have to give to ChatGPT in order to train ChatGPT.
Where is she?
Do I call her Carrie or Princess Leia? I think I want to call her Princess Leia.
Princess Leia. I think Princess Leia is a winner. Yeah.
I'm not getting involved in this discussion.
Princess Leia, I was very much in love with Princess Leia and slightly scared of Carrie Fisher. I think it's probably
I think
you should call it Carrie so that it's like,
True.
You could have, I think it should be two personalities. I think you should call it both, and it depends. Listen, put your Carrie hat on. I would train it to do both. I need you to be Carrie right now and not Princess Leia and give me the hard facts. That's what I would do.
I think Princess Leia's quite businesslike as well.
That's true.
Might stab me. But yeah. Anyway,
shocking that we've managed to work Princess Leia / Carrie into the discussion.
I just realized I didn't put my lights on. Oh, well, it doesn't matter.
You didn't, or your headphones.
You look fantastic. It's fine.
That's very sweet of you. You're like Princess Leia now.
Now you're a little.
I think I preferred it without the lights, actually.
There we go. Look, thank you, Cissy. I don't know when we're going to see each other again.
I'm sad about it.
We spent most of the year together, one place or another. But now it's going to be a while, isn't it?
Well, I actually was thinking to text you yesterday, but I was making tea and then forgot. In my kettle, by the way, and that was real. I did pull it out just for you. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, we don't have a date. We said we were going to try to set something up and we have nothing.
Well, I'm going to be in America, but you're not going to be in England. I'll be in America next week, but you're going to ignore us in Vegas.
Well, you're going to be in Vegas and then I don't know what you're doing, cruising or doing your thing. Don't you have any free days you could pop up to PA? I'm here. Lucy's here.
I'll be in Fort Lauderdale. Why don't you just get on a bike and wander down? Cycle down. It can't be far away.
Bike? Get on a bike. Okay, Mr. European. Let me bike down to Fort Lauderdale from Pennsylvania.
I'd go on a plane to Florence. Where were we? Florence, yeah.
Yes. Okay, all right. Send me your dates.
Sort that out. Thank you very much indeed.
I noticed neither of you invited me, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You can get on a bike and bike over very easily as well, right?
That's it for this week. So we're going to say thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
We will record a few episodes next week to cover the time that I'm in Vegas. Although I try and record an episode in Vegas as well, that we normally do, don't we?
I don't want you to, because you always show me your posh hotel room and then I just feel
and then
upset.
You get jealous.
I'm in an apartment off the strip this year. I'm keeping away from the craziness.
You're not in that special apartment hotel room that had what is it called? We're not still podcasting, are we?
We are still podcasting.
We are, we are.
Say?
Nothing.
Had a dead prostitute in it or something? I don't know what you're going to say.
Why is it that we've been doing this a year and we've never said the word prostitute before and now we have said it twice in one episode?
Is it me? Am I the problem?
Sorry, Cara, sex work.
No, James is definitely the problem.
No, there was that room, that massage room, remember?
Yes, no.
We definitely need to stop now.
The unused, I should say, massage. No, I'm not springing out for that hotel again. That was too expensive in the win. Yeah,
to hear more about
it.
James's massage room, everyone, tune in next week.
And on that bombshell, let's say goodbye for this week. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Support the podcast and get exclusive access by joining our Patreon. From just $1 an episode, you'll be invited to our Discord server, where the weekly discussion continues every day. And our 2 top tiers include a monthly live Q&A with James and Cara. Head to indiewritersclub.com/support. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We'll see you next Friday.
The Indie Writers Club podcast is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Built by writers for writers, Pro Writing Aid doesn't just check spelling and grammar. It helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. Now it can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Give your writing a competitive advantage by heading to prowritingaid.com. You can also sign up for free or use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.